Wow, what a morning. Good morning and happy Easter to those of you all that celebrate it, wherever you are in the world. This is, of course, the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the TNA double shot review. TNA Wrestling did indeed cross that line again with two shows full of epicness and absolute violence, shall we say, with Impact Wrestling and, of course, TNA Unbreakable. We are going to get into this. Get into both shows right now. TNA Impact, as I say, airing double shot, 1 o'clock this morning over here in the UK. I started watching it. I finished watching wrestling at around 20 past 10 this morning after being up at 1 o'clock to start. So it's been a long day so far, but an exciting one nevertheless. We'll get into it all. Starting, as I say, this is going to be a double episode of TNA. This is going to be TNA Wrestling, Impact, and Unbreakable. We'll change the background when we move on, but let's get into it. TNA Wrestling started off with Laredo Kid and Jason Hotch. Jason Hotch being a part, obviously, of Ali Ali's team, shall we say, who has got a bit of a issue with Mike Santana recently, and we're more on that in a minute because things do escalate and the match is made for Rebellion, but we will get into that very, very soon against Laredo Kid. And there was a big, the crowd loved this. They were really into Laredo Kid. Laredo Kid was flying around. He was doing what he does best, making it an exciting opening contest. He hit a twisting senton, and what I did like though is it a little bit like there's a little bit of contrasting styles, a little bit obviously. Hotch is obviously a bit more of a heavy hitter, shall we say? Laredo Kid's very fast, very quick, very moves around quite a lot. So there was a nice contrast between these two. There was a couple of Ali style moves from Jason Hotch as well, so he's maybe learning from Mustafa Ali. Nevertheless, sorry, the fans also were chanting "Uno Mas, Uno Mas." Not, he didn't. Yeah, Laredo Kid didn't quite oblige to it, but nevertheless, look at the end of this. Hotch was getting increasingly paranoid as the match went on, maybe about Santana. Remember, Santana last week abducted Hotch and the Good Hands, and even I think Ali may have been in the car at the time. They may have got away. Tasha Steele's at ringside. The good thing about this one, what I would say was, not a lot of interference in this. However, the ending of it was, Tasha yelling at Hotch to focus. And then Laredo Kid hits the finish for the victory. So Laredo Kid picking up rarely, shall I say, a rare win. And that's not a disrespect. It's just a lot of times we see Laredo Kid. It's always in a great losing effort. But this week on Impact, he picks up the victory, which was very, very good. Now, backstage at this point, Gia Miller interviews the youngest in charge, Leon Slater, who coincidentally, you can see his interview with us in the playlist, the special guest playlist below. Go and check that out. Leon Slater is going to be in the main event, which effectively is the countdown to Unbreakable, and probably one of his biggest test to date in terms of a very experienced Brian Myers. Now, the differences with that match is the system will not be at ringside for that. But anyway, Brian Myers, Leon Slater said he's going to beat his ass and then he'll focus on becoming the X Division champion at Rebellion when he goes against Moose and a lot of other competitors, including Vikingo in that match. And that's quite an incredible match. That's going to be in just next week, shall we say, at Rebellion. We're only got a week away for Rebellion. Just a quick one. Don't forget, you can catch all the action on the TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded, get it subscribed. Get yourself that annual, I think it's an annual pass. You can watch all the pay-per-views. Impact comes with the regular pass, but if you want the pay-per-views, if you want the Vault, where you can catch all the ex-TNA legends, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and co., you can do that with the annual pass or the championship pass, they call it. Get yourself that part, and you are missing out on some real good action. Cody Deaner, who we saw last week, on Impact, was approaching Santina Morella. His apparently contract is up, and he said it ain't all about wins, it's about entertaining the fans. And he did say that he nearly pinned Moose last week, and that's got to count for something. And Santino agreed. He said, look, you can face KC Navarro in a qualifier for the Ultimate X match. And if he wins it, he's got a good case of extending his contract, which is going to be interesting. But obviously that match is fully stacked as it is. Moose, Leon, Vikingo, and potentially the winner of that match as well. Going to be a hell of a contest. But now we move on to the first involvement of NXT Jasmine Nix with Fatal Influence. Of course, that's JC Jane and another member. Just apologies for the forgetting who that is. And she's going against Zaya Brookside, who was brought to ringside by Lei Ying Lee. Realistically, it's kind of like a bit of a reunion there in the WWE. From the WWE side of things, obviously the former Xia Li in this. There was a bit of sort of back and forth early on this. Xia Brookside kind of took over for a brief period, but when she was getting near to victory, this is when hell started breaking loose at ringside. JC Jane Fallon Henry. So I'm reading my notes down. I should have read a bit further down. Causing a distraction. And interestingly enough, of all people to come out and assist Xia Brookside, it was Rosemary, who has kind of had a bit of a to-do with Xia Brookside recently. She spits mist into JC Jane's face. And at that point, causing Xia Brookside to roll up Jasmine Nix and pick up the victory. Could say it's somewhat of a surprise victory from Xia Brookside. And the interesting part of this is what the hell is Rosemary up to now on TNA? She's kind of gone in between a lot of things over the last 6 months or so. Like I said, there's been a bit of a thorn in Zaya's side, and now has assisted her. And maybe it's a kind of, your TNA and we're going against NXT. So, you know, giving her home comfort, so to speak, over the NXT crowd that's come in. But I tell you what though, someone like Jasmine Nick, this is where the partnership will work between WWE and NXT, and that is the Jasmine Nixes of this world. Yes, the Xia Brooksides as well. You'll get to have a lot more action at these, the TNAs, and you're going to get in the ring. In some one case, you're going to get in the ring with a lot more experience. Leon Slater. I know that'll be a TNA versus TNA, but the partnership is working because Jasmine Nix will get extra ring time, which will help her. Xia Brookside, that's so young, will gain a lot of experience. And this is where the partnership works, folks. It's not just in the views and the massive increase in TNA subscriptions that have happened, which is fantastic. This is also where the big partnership plays into hand as well. Now, like I said earlier on, you'll remember Cody Deaner was talking about his contract extension. Santina Marilla gives him an opportunity to qualify for the Ultimate X and to assist in his contractual extension by going against Casey Navarro. I have waxed lyrical about Casey Navarro so many times. Casey Navarro is an absolute star, and TNA have done great to get him under contract. Although I didn't like the fact that he offered Cody Deaner $500 to throw the match. But Cody Deaner slapped the $100 bill 4 times across his chest because that was for his 4 kids, and the fifth one is for Mrs. Deaner. But I tell you what, I did like this match, and I feel like, as I said, Casey Navarro, in my opinion, is very, very close to becoming a blue chipper in TNA. He has got the world at his feet, and he is so, so good. He did, Navarro did have the majority of this match. Cody Deaner getting a bit of offense in here or there, does a spinning TKO, which I thought looked great, by the way. Cody Deaner, is he underrated? Is he overrated? I've seen a little bit of, people online. They're not sure about him. But unfortunately for Cody, in this one, in terms of his contract extension and in terms of winning this to the Ultimate X, as it looked like he had the match won, Navarro wrapped his chain around his fist and knocks Dina out and effectively pins Cody Deaner to qualify for the Ultimate X match at Rebellion. I tell you what, though, that match is. I mean, I look at match of the night, but then obviously there's a match that gets announced on Unbreakable that could be. I mean, again, we're talking about getting to this TNA Plus app, guys. You're going to be missing some incredible matches at Rebellion if you don't get it. I know it's on, I think it's on through the TV or something like that, but you need to get this TNA Plus app because you are missing out on so much stuff. It is incredible, this action. And Rebellion is shaping up to be an amazing pay per view as well. But we haven't even got to Unbreakable yet, which was violent, exciting, and everything in between. But we need to get there first, right? Before we get there, we need to talk about another team from NXT. This is Gigi Dolan and Taxon Paisley, or Paxley, sorry. And they were going against one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Ella. It's been a long day, guys, already. Heather by Elegance and Maggie Lee. Megan Lee, one of the newer signings for TNA, another great acquisition from TNA. Now, bit of news on acquisitions just quickly before we get into this match. Apparently, TNA have signed 3 international stars. Their mind boggles. We know kind of that there's a few floating around. There's a few that have left New Japan as well. So exciting times for TNA. 3 international acquisitions coming our way. One could maybe debut next week. Again, we'll get into that at Rebellion. But don't forget last week, Maggie Lee beat Savannah Evans on Explosion, thanks to the help of George Iceman, the concierge, so to speak. I wonder if Maggie Lee, I wonder if the Elegances are looking to recruit again, and if Maggie Lee is one of those people. But nevertheless, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley are a great team, relatively newer team in on NXT now. I kind of think, Gigi Dolan is the word underused, right, for Gigi Dolan in NXT. I think she's just got so much talent. She's worked a lot in NXT in a pairs, in a team. She's never really had that opportunity to perhaps, I don't want to say be herself, but we know how good that she is. That's Priscilla. I just wonder if this opportunity in TNA, if maybe she should have been a single in this. Maybe it could happen. I don't know. Listen, this tag match was really, really good, by the way. Showcased the knockout, showcased the NXT women very, very well. Indeed. However, Heather by Elegance gets hit with the sanitary drive and gets pinned by Gigi Dolan. Now, what implications does that have for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, you ask? Well, we'll get into that because that match has been made official for Rebellion. There's knockout teams, or there's 4 teams, should we say, in that or 4-way tag team championship match at Rebellion for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Fatal Influence, Gigi Dolan, Tam Paxley, obviously the Elegances, and Spitfire will all be competing for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships at Rebellion next week. Guys, I mean, seriously, I keep saying about, this was how you should download the TNA Plus app. That's another reason. And that match happened because Heather by Elegance was giving out title opportunities to everybody after that, after the match. Well, I'm not sure what Ash thinks about that. But nevertheless, great, great opportunity. No, it's not Fatal Influence. It's Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend that's in there. Apologies. Or is it 5 team? Sorry, I'm just looking. Metaphor, Gigi Dolan, Spitfire, all confront them. I need to check TNA to remember that. So apologies if I got that wrong. Anyway, speaking of Jakara Jackson, right? She was next on Impact against Spitfire's Danny Luna. We had a quick, brief digital exclusive where AJ Francis was gloating about buying property ahead of his TNA International Championship match, which will be crowning or have crowned a new international champion at Unbreakable. We'll get to that in a minute. We did see a lengthy video package with AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels match from 20 years ago at Unbreakable. Again, that's another reason to get the TNA Plus app. And then a final digital exclusive airs with Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich getting ready for their match with Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard at Unbreakable. But we head back into the Impact Zone as Metaphor duo of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend head to the ring and they take on Danny Luna. I'll tell you what, Danny Luna, right? I'll be really surprised if she isn't signed. I say she isn't signed because she technically is TNA. But in terms of being able to do like UK independence, I'm not sure if she'll be around a lot longer because she should be signed permanently over in America. She is a tremendous, tremendous talent. And I think in the UK, there's a couple of wrestlers we'll get into some more. We'll get into at least another one in a bit that we're going to have to make the most of while they're around the UK scene. Danny Luna is definitely one of those individuals and another one in a little bit later on. But she did end up beating Jakara Jackson. There was a lot of stuff going on in this match. Security, everyone sort of going crazy. Lash Legend tried to get involved in this so loads of times. She ended up getting removed. Security took her out. Referees. She ends up knocking out security. She leaves anyway. But a few minutes later, that's Danny Luna picked up the victory over Chikara Jackson. But man, you know, those two as well. Like, God, this is where this again, I've mentioned this partnership so many times already in this Impact review and over the last few weeks. But this is where this partnership is going to continue to get better and better and better for TNA and for NXT because there is just so much great stuff around, so many great opportunities here now for this to be amazing for both companies to give the talent a lot of opportunities to see how maybe even to put a championship on one of those ones in either brand to see how it works for them as champion and whatever else. It is really going to be great, great, great to see. And it is Metaphor. I apologize. It was Metaphor, not Fatal Influence, that get that tag team opportunity. So it is Metaphor, Chikara Jackson, and Co. and Lash Legend. It is Gigi Dolan, Tatson Paisley. It is Spitfire against the Elegances at Rebellion next week. Everybody, next week. Next Sunday. Can't wait for it. Cannot wait. Elijah, the formerly Elias, he's in the ring with his guitar. He sings a song. He craves the crowd for a bit. He then sings another song dissing Frankie Kazarian, which is funny. But he goes on to issue the first ever Who Wants to Walk with Elijah open challenge for Rebellion April 27th in LA. And the challenge is being for any company, whether they're a legend or a new guy, to make their name. The mind boggles as to who that is going to be next Sunday at Rebellion. Who is going to cross that line and walk with Elijah? And I've plugged it so many times, but the only way to do it and the only way to find out is to download the TNA Plus app as we move to the main event and we move to the countdown to Unbreakable, which means there is a background change coming on my screen in the very, very short time. I just need to find, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, Unbreakable. So the countdown to Unbreakable was Leon Slater against Brian Myers. This was the main event of Impact, but also the countdown to Unbreakable. And, you know, I really loved it. They had a quick another digital exclusive, which was an interview with Ethan Page. Obviously, he's got Joe Hendry and Kazarian at Rebellion next week, in a triple threat match, and he thinks that Joe Hendry's arm is a lot worse than what people are letting on now. If you remember last week, we heard that the doctors wasn't going to clear Joe Hendry, but Joe Hendry cleared himself, so to speak, and made the opportunity his. Well, Max didn't made the opportunity, but basically said he was defending the heavyweight championship next week. He does indeed have a match at Unbreakable as well, which we'll get to. But what a main event this week! Leon Slater. I can't say the word rookie. I mean, Jesus, this kid's been around. He's so young, but he's been around so long, and he's so exciting against a real wily veteran of the business in Brian Myers. Don't forget, without the system at the ringside, we have to make a bit of that. Without the system at ringside. Jeez, I mean, Leon Slater, and he's also quite savvy because he went to do a move early on where he was going to do his dive over the ring post. He could see that Myers could see it coming, so he pumped the brakes. But what Brian Myers did was use that wily veteranness and was working on the legs of Leon Slater during this match, or the knee and the leg, because obviously you take that away, you take away a lot of what makes Leon Slater so great, which was really, really good. Leon Slater came back into this. But even though there was no system at ringside, there was one thing and that was the system ring, which he blasts Leon Slater with to pick up the Z victory in the match and ultimately wins the match for the system. Brian Myers picking up victory. The defeat will not hurt Leon Slater one bit. I hope to God that he wins that X Division Championship next weekend at Rebellion. We will do predictions next week when we review TNA Impact. But first, now, Unbreakable time, folks. And the first match of Unbreakable was one of the triple threat matches for the TNA International Championship, the new belt, which, by the way, is stunning. If you haven't seen it already, go and have a look. But it was EY, Eric Young, it was JDC, and Zachary Wentz in a match. It was a great way to start off the show. It set the tone for the evening. You did have two veterans in there, Eric Young and JDC with Zachary Wentz, Zachary was doing what he does, the high flying, the exciting side of it. You had JDC and Eric Young trying to slow the pace down like you would normally do against the quick fire or the quickness of, say, a Zachary Wentz. And, you know, there was a couple of high cross body attempts by Wentz into this. It had a double pin at one point, which they kicked out of. And then throughout this whole match, JDC, Eric Young working together a little bit. But of course, there was obviously going to be that alliance was obviously going to be broken at one point, and it was broken indeed by JDC. He hit Eric Young while slamming Wentz, but Wentz again fires up that big momentum, and you think Zachary Wentz is gonna pick up the victory, but EY hits that big power driver and stamps his name in the finals, in which is going to be the main event of Unbreakable. So at the moment, it is him and AJ Francis. Now, if you remember my prediction last week, I did say how I thought it may go, but I also offered you another way it could go. And that should have been the way that I chose. I went with Ace Austin. More on that in a minute. More on that next. I went with Ace Austin because I thought perhaps Chris Bay. I thought maybe they were going to give him a championship, but well, let's just get into it, right? So the next match, Steve Macklin, Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, for the next one to qualify for the main event. Ace Austin come out wearing the Chris Bay shirt. More on Chris Bay in a minute. Alicia Edwards accompanied Eddie Edwards at ringside. Macklin comes out. Mr. Mayhem himself. I love this. This match was absolutely brilliant. I can't say enough about this match. It was, I mean, The match got a "This is awesome" chant about 4 or 5 minutes into it, and it just tells you exactly everything you need to know. Olympic slams, power bombs. There was just Ace Austin just doing what Ace Austin does. The crowd. But sorry, before the crowd bit, Austin goes to the top rope, and Alicia Edwards gets involved, and the words "fuck the system" were chanted. Eddie Edwards climbs up to the top rope and hits a belly to back suplex. And Eddie Edwards ends up hanging by 1 foot in the corner, actually, of this quite a scary spot. The referee and Macklin actually tried to help him escape. And Alicia Edwards hopped onto the apron to obviously do the same. They get him free at that point as Macklin goes for the KIA to Eddie Edwards. But Alicia Edwards again hops on the apron. They jaw at each other. She does go to smack Macklin, but unfortunately he moves out the way and hits Eddie Edwards, and Eddie Edwards turns into the KAI for the victory for Steve Macklin. Now, remember, like I said last week, I kind of thought were they going to go the Ace Austin route, which is the route that I selected, but I also offered you an alternate route because of Eric Young and Macklin's kind of to do they've been having for the last 3 months or so. That's the way that they went. Steve Macklin, Eric Young, AJ Francis in the main event of Unbreakable for the inaugural TNA International Championship. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, the next match was Moose. Now, Moose called out any open. Moose had an open challenge really here. Called out anybody. Wanted a high flyer. Big point of note here. Sean Merriman, former NFL player. I think he's been in TNA before. He joined Hanifan and Raywell on commentary. And wow, well, what we get here is an open challenge. As he said, he wanted a high flyer. Alicia Edwards accompanying Moose to ringside. For what reason? I don't know, other than it's a system. But he scheduled, he wanted the greatest high flyer in Las Vegas. Well, he got a high flyer. And for those of you that may know him, Sidney Akeem, who you will know in the WWE as Reggie and Reginald, and I think even Scripps, if I'm right, in NXT. He's an exciting high flyer. We never really got to see a lot of him in the WWE. Predominantly a comedy act. And this is again kind of where TNA gives you opportunities. I mean, he's gone away and done some great things in wrestling, and he's an exciting wrestler. He's very high flying, very quick. Exactly what Moose wanted. But is that a sign-in for TNA? It hasn't been officially announced. Maybe it was a one-shot deal. Maybe there's a sign in there to be had. I think he'd be a great acquisition for TNA if that is the case. Nevertheless, a lot of it, Moose was kind of overpowering him, but you know what it's like with Akeem. He was flying around that ring again. There was a big power bomb from the floor to the ring apron by Moose in this. I mean, he actually pounded fists with Merriman actually on the commentary desk. Merriman, not a believer in Joe Hendry either, by the way, which didn't get a good nod from the crowd. But I tell you what, though, it was a real good flipping flip into a cool cutter from Akeem, and he nearly got the job done actually in this match. There was a couple of near falls. There was one near fall in particular, and again, Alicia Edwards pulled the referee out, and they just bicker at ringside for what feels like forever. And he ended up ejecting Alicia Edwards at ringside. But while he does that, Moose has low blowed Akeem in the ring, hits a spear, which, to be honest, Braun Breakers. I want to see Moose and Braun Breaker go because these two spears, he nearly decapitated Akeem with his spear in this. He did get the 1, 2, 3. The I mentioned this last week about distractions and interference, and especially when it comes to the system. Moose didn't need any distract. He didn't need anyone to interfere on his behalf right there. Moose could quite. it's not a disrespect to Hakeem when I say this. Moose could have quite comfortably had won that match. He didn't need Alicia Edwards to pull the referee in a way. And I got to understand, you've booked Sydney to come in, so he's got to look reasonably strong, and he did. But to have Moose need someone to pull a referee out to win a match, and the amount of times that we've had this, does it degrade Moose and make him not as powerful and as dominant as what perhaps he should be? I'll leave that up to you to decide, but that's my only gripe with it right now because she was involved in Eddie Edwards' match, which was literally the match before, unsuccessfully. Yes, she was successful in it, but Moose didn't need it. He doesn't need Alicia Edwards to win matches all the time. He doesn't need any assistance. Moose should be dominating. He's the X Division champion. My only gripe with TNA at the minute is I don't think they are. I think with all this interference, it's making Moose look less dominant than what he should be looking in this match. And like I said before, Sydney Akim was booked strong enough in this match to be a believable challenger. He could have had a couple of close near falls and then just get decapitated with a spear and lose. That would have been fine. But to have Alicia Edwards get involved in really, in a way, you're saying that if Alicia wasn't there, Moose wouldn't be winning. I don't know. That's my only gripe with it at the moment, with the whole TNA and the system thing. But hey ho. Anyway, I'm not going to let that take away from an incredible night of action. Macklin and Yerrick Young, tries to have a little. They had a little chat, and he said, "Look, may the best man win." And they're both in there with AJ Francis tonight. And as Macklin walks away, Eric Young mumbles something under his breath about the best man winning. He didn't have the best look on his face at the time, which was quite interesting. Speaking of interesting, six-man tag match next. The Blue Chipper, here's my nickname for him, Mike Santana and the Hardys against Mustafa Ali and the Nemeths. Now, obviously, these feuds have been going on. Ali and Santana, we know all about that because obviously about the Ali and getting Santana into the drinking, trying to get him into drinking, getting him piss tested and all of that sort of stuff. And his friend that was on Impact that he was recovering alcoholic got him drunk. And then the Hardys with the Nemeths, we know how that has been going on ever since the heel turn from Nick Nemeth on this. I mean, again, this was a great six-person tag. It was going how you would normally have the Hardys in a six-man tag, if that makes sense. Jeff, the great early start, the face is dominating. Jeff Hardy's in there, and Jeff Hardy takes the big beating for ages until he gets that hot tag. And then he hits that whisper in the wind, cutting out all three opponents. Santana hits a rolling back buck 50, but walks into a DDT from Ryan Nemeth, who in turn walks into a twist of fate from Jeff Hardy. Ali then hits Jeff with the net breaker, and as Ali backs Santana in and does the slow turn, Santana grabs him by the hair and throws him in a corner, runs into a big boot. This was just absolutely fantastic, this match. I really love this. And the end of this match, it was basically at one point, sorry, this left Jeff. There was one point in the match where Jeff Hardy was left alone with the Nemeths in the ring, but Santana runs down, hits the STB on Nick. Matt hits the twist of fate on Ryan in the ring, and Jeff takes the shirt off. You know where he's going, folks. Up top, Swanton Bomb, 1, 2, 3. The Hardys and Santana pick up a massive victory in this. Where do we go from here? I can tell you for one, we're going street fight. Was it street fight or last man standing? Apologies. It is one of the two. But we're going street fight style. Santana, Ali, Rebellion next Sunday. We will tell you where the Hardy Boys and that are going in a bit because that's a little bit more, shall we say, interesting. Not interesting, not more interesting. It's going to be a little more crazy, shall we say? We then moved to Joe Hendry, Masa Slamovich. They were teaming up as the champions against their retrospective opponents next week at Rebellion. Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard. The crowd absolutely hate Tessa. Wonder why. But look, and again, all seriousness aside, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face. When Tessa Blanchard gets in the ring, magic happens. Simple as that. To be quite honest with you. Actually really announced really like this match, to be honest. I really there's just so many, there's just these four, great chemistry, great action. I think the only thing that I perhaps was surprised about was that Joe Hendry and Slamovich picked up the victory in this match. And the reason why I thought that and it was Joe Hendry hitting the standing ovation on Kazarian. Usually, because usually in wrestling, when you do this, when you have the champions against the challengers, you normally give the challengers the win just to make their match, their retrospective matches have a little bit of like intrigue and say, well, they just lost against these guys. You're going in there now with the champions victorious, kind of putting down the challenges. Now, again, this could work the other way. Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich could both lose their retrospective titles next week at Rebellion to either Kazarian or Ethan Page and to Tessa Blanchard. Maybe that's the way they're going. But for me, it would have made a bit more sense for the challengers to have gone over, especially if the champions do walk out next week at Rebellion, the tag team champions. But a great match nevertheless. And I do apologize. It was Falls Count Anywhere between Santana and Ali next week at Rebellion. It was made by Santino after talking to Santana and Jesus, that match is going to be crazy. But a real, it was an emotional bit that happened next. We saw Chris Bay return to a TNA, not return into the ring, but we saw him on the stage, made his way out on his own 2 feet with Ace Austin there. And, he talked about 172 days. It's been 172 days. Jesus, that's like, gee, I didn't think, it doesn't feel that long ago at all. But he was saying he broke his neck and paralyzed himself. He's having successful surgery, but the future is still uncertain. I mean, to be honest, he wasn't clear that he was ever going to walk again, and he's walking already. And he's doing exactly, and the crowd went crazy at that point, and he pointed at Ace Austin, the man that never left his side. And, he says, well, when you're going through what he's been going through, you need a real brother. And that man is exactly that. And you actually heard some of the crowd saying, greatest story ever told. And Chris Bay was like, yep, there it is. But he did say he's going to beat the odds. And the fans also chanting, you are unbreakable. He says he was able to do it because we believe there's $20 that he owes Joe Hendry. You know, it was just an incredible moment. Here's my wrestling storyline thing. Should Chris Bay come back into wrestling, and listen, we hope and pray that he does. Wouldn't it be really interesting if on the first Impact that Chris Bay returns to action, he gets betrayed by Ace Austin? I'm available for us if anyone wants me on creative, by the way. No, but wouldn't that be a moment in wrestling, right? We've seen it, totally different. I get it. We've seen her and that and whatnot, and the big, Sami Zayn and everyone else doing those big moments. Would that be one of the biggest moments in wrestling if it happened? Anyway, we'll find out. But we go now to quite possibly one of the most violent matches I have witnessed in TNA wrestling. I mean, we went back, you go back on the Vault on the TNA Plus, you look at Abyss and people like that. This was a barbed wire massacre match between Mence Warner and Sami Callihan. I don't, to be quite honest, right? I was expecting it to be violent. I just didn't realize how violent this was. And listen, I'm fine with it, by the way. Listen, we've seen it all before, but geez, man, these two. I'll tell you a spot right in this match. I mean, listen already, right? Sammy Callahan. Put it this way, straight near enough, straight away into this match, right? Mace Warner went to work on Sammy Callahan, and one of the first things Sammy Callahan did, if you wanted to set the tone on how violent this match was going to be, Sammy Callahan, first move, Death Valley driver through a barbed wire door. And mic drop at that point. I mean, this was just, oh my God. Sammy Callahan grabbed a barbed wire bat and he literally went to town on Mence Warner's arm, and it looked like he like chewed up bits of flesh. Um, oh, it was absolutely disgusting. I mean, I tell you what I will say on this commentary, Callahan, Raywald, absolutely perfect during this match, in telling you just how disgusting some of their stuff. It was like, dear God and stop. And oh my God, there was some crazy bits. Here's another one. Here's another one for you. There was a cheese grater, grates the forehead of Mence Warner. That got a you sick fuck chant. Um, it was just, oh mate, it was just crazy. This was 2 or 3 minutes into the match. Literally 2 minutes in, and Mence Warner's just red with blood. It is just, oh my God. Fans like, this is madness chants. We want more. We want fire. Callahan runs through a barbed wire door. He spits his own blood in the air and it falls on his face. Oh my God, this was just sick. Oh God, there was a bit where Callahan went to hit a cactus driver through barbed wire, balled across two tables. Oh my God. There was a stunner into a barbed wire board. Callahan's legs get stuck into the barbed wire. Oh my God. And the sickest bit, one of the sickest bit about this, right? He pulls out a lemon. He tears the padding away that was around Mence Warner's arm from earlier in the match and squeezes lemon juice into the wound. He then grabs some salt and he puts rubs to get it salt into the wound. Oh my God, it was disgusting. And then to top it all off, he gets a staple gun. He staples Mence Warner's tongue to the door. He then hits the door with the chair, ripping the staple out of Mence Warner's tongue. It was, oh my God. I mean, you, I'm not denying, I don't know. I mean, okay. Then you get that, right? And I know I've probably spent longer on this match than I have on the whole fucking review, but this is just nuts. Right. There's a standoff. They have a sword fight with screwdrivers and then the balls of barbed wire. There's video game controllers with barbed wire. There's lemons and salt bags. They get a big spike. They have a sword fight. They stab each they stab each other with this sword. The fans. Well, this is fucking. Jim Cornette is gonna have a fucking field day reviewing this because you know what he's like. The fans during that stabbing session. This is wrestling. Anyway, Callahan channels his inner Mick Foley, grabs a socko with barbed wire, and then he hits that cactus driver through the barbed wire for the pinfall victory. Jesus Christ. I mean, insanity, absolute insanity. It is not everyone's cup of tea, but my God, if you wanted an ECW style throwback of a match, you need it. At I'm lost for words, but it was crazy, absolute craziness. Jesus, that's just Jesus. That's all I can say about it. And then we get to the main event, and which was that international championship, the inaugural international champion, Macklin and Eric Young, who earlier on qualified against AJ Francis, who had qualified last week on Impact. I love Eric Young's theme, by the way. Brilliant. I love his song. It's brilliant. This was a great triple threat match, by the way. A really, really good triple threat match. I think whoever walked out, I don't think there was any lose. I don't think you could lost with any one of these three walking out. I think AJ Francis would have been a funny one considering he gets a lot of hate on social media. I think Eric Young winning it may have been something like he deserved. But, and I say but because I've left one person out, and there's a reason I left that one person out. If anyone deserves a championship in TNA wrestling, it is Steve Macklin. And he delivered. He delivered. Um, Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He hits the KIA on AJ Francis for the victory, and Steve Macklin is your inaugural TNA International Champion. Congratulations, Steve Macklin. You do indeed deserve that moment. Well done. The championship looks brilliant. I just wonder if it's an international championship and the mind is, trickling on, and I wonder if that can be defended. It's an international championship, right? So if Steve Macklin were to come over here to the UK, say, would he be able to defend the international championship at an independent show over here in the UK? Hope so. That would be really, really good. But look, that's the main event. It doesn't end there, though. We go backstage to Nick and Ryan Nemeth, who have had a bad day. They lost their six-person tag match. There's an invitation in Nick Nemeth's bag. At Ryan Nemeth's bag. They open it. We get some crazy CGI effects. You know what's coming if you know the Hardys, right? Ah, yeah. I'm trying to do it. Broken Matt Hardy comes on our screens and challenges them to, well, invites them, shall we say, to the Hardy compound for the final deletion. We know where this goes. When is that going to happen? Is that going to happen at Impact? Is it going to happen at Rebellion next Sunday? Guys, what a pay-per-view. Ultra violent, ultra exciting from TNA. For those of you that haven't seen it yet, get yourself onto the TNA Plus app. Get on it. Get signed up. Get subscribed. Hit that championship package so you don't miss out on any of the action. What a great start to what is going to be a busy wrestling weekend for you, all you wrestling fans. If you're in Vegas, honestly, I hope you're having the best of times. I really, really do. I'm going to take a break right now, but I'm going to be back in the booth in very, very shortly because I'm going to be reviewing another show, Progress Wrestling. But guys, for those of you, for your TNA fans, come back next week when we review the final TNA Impact before Rebellion. We'll do predictions as well. Until next week, if you're a TNA fan, guys, cross that line, stay safe, and follow HTT Buckle.